Yes, the salesperson is correct. According to the National Electrical Code, low-voltage wiring used for under-cabinet lighting must not be concealed within walls. Instead of concealing the low-voltage wire in the wall, you have the following alternatives. Firstly, run the low-voltage wire along the surface of the wall and secure it with clips or tape. Secondly, use a flexible conduit, such as NEC tubing, to protect the low-voltage wire. This can be surface-mounted or concealed between walls. Thirdly, install a dedicated electrical raceway for low-voltage wires. This can be concealed behind baseboards or inside walls. The NEC requirement for low-voltage wiring in concealed walls is found in Section 411.3b4. Conductors for lighting equipment of Class 2 or Class 3 shall not be concealed within walls, ceilings, or floors. Sleeving the low-voltage wire through NEC tubing is acceptable as long as the tubing is used as a raceway and not concealed within the wall. The tubing must be properly secured and accessible for maintenance. It's important to always consult with a licensed electrician before performing any electrical work. They can ensure that your installation complies with all the applicable codes and safety regulations. To expand on these points, firstly, let's delve deeper into the code requirements. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, is a comprehensive set of standards that governs electrical installations in the United States. It's designed to ensure the safety of people and property. When it comes to low-voltage wiring, the NEC has specific rules about where and how it can be installed. Section 411.3b4 is particularly relevant to under-cabinet lighting. This section explicitly states that conductors for lighting equipment of Class 2 or Class 3 shall not be concealed within walls, ceilings, or floors. Class 2 and Class 3 circuits are low-voltage circuits that have specific limitations on power and voltage. These limitations are intended to reduce the risk of electrical shock and fire. Because under-cabinet lighting often uses Class 2 or Class 3 circuits, the NEC prohibits concealing the wiring within walls. The reason for this prohibition is to prevent potential hazards. If low-voltage wiring is concealed within a wall, it can be difficult to inspect and maintain. If the wiring becomes damaged or frayed, it could create a fire hazard or electrical shock hazard. By keeping the wiring exposed or accessible, it's easier to identify and address any potential problems. Now let's explore the alternatives to concealing the low-voltage wire in the wall. The first alternative is surface mounting. This involves running the wire along the surface of the wall and securing it with clips or tape. Surface mounting is a simple and straightforward way to install low-voltage wiring without violating the NEC code. It allows for easy inspection and maintenance as the wire is always visible. When surface mounting low-voltage wire, it's important to use appropriate clips or tape to secure the wire to the wall. The clips or tape should be designed for electrical wiring and should be able to withstand the weight of the wire. It's also important to route the wire in a way that minimizes the risk of damage or snagging. For example, you might want to run the wire along the baseboard or behind cabinets where it's less likely to be disturbed. The second alternative is using flexible conduit. Flexible conduit, such as electrical non-metallic tubing or ENT, is a type of protective tubing that can be used to enclose electrical wiring. ENT is typically made of plastic and is flexible enough to be bent around corners and obstacles. Using flexible conduit can provide an extra layer of protection for low-voltage wiring. It can also make the installation look more professional and organized. When using flexible conduit, it's important to choose the right size for the wire. The conduit should be large enough to accommodate the wire without being too tight. It's also important to properly secure the conduit to the wall or other surfaces. This can be done with clamps or straps that are designed for ENT. Flexible conduit can be surface mounted or concealed between walls. If you choose to conceal the conduit, it's important to ensure that it remains accessible for maintenance. This can be done by providing access panels or removable sections of drywall. The third alternative is installing a low-voltage electrical raceway. A raceway is a type of enclosed channel that is designed to hold electrical wires. Raceways can be made of metal or plastic and come in a variety of sizes and shapes. Installing a dedicated electrical raceway for low-voltage wires can provide a neat and organized way to run the wiring. It can also protect the wiring from damage and make it easier to add or remove wires in the future. Raceways can be concealed behind baseboards or inside walls. If you choose to conceal the raceway, it's important to ensure that it remains accessible for maintenance. This can be done by providing access panels or removable sections of drywall. When installing a raceway, it's important to follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully. The raceway should be properly supported and secured to the wall or other surfaces. It's also important to ensure that the raceway is properly grounded if it's made of metal. Now let's address the question of sleeving the low-voltage wire through E&T tubing. As mentioned earlier, sleeving the low-voltage wire through E&T tubing is acceptable as long as the tubing is used as a raceway and not concealed within the wall. This means that the tubing must be properly secured and accessible for maintenance. If you choose to sleeve the wire through E&T tubing, it's important to follow the same guidelines as you would for using flexible conduit as a raceway. The tubing should be the right size for the wire, and it should be properly secured to the wall or other surfaces. It's also important to ensure that the tubing remains accessible for maintenance. In addition to these alternatives, there are a few other considerations to keep in mind when wiring under cabinet lighting. Firstly, it's important to choose the right type of wire for the application. Low voltage wiring comes in a variety of gauges and insulation types. The gauge of the wire determines its current carrying capacity, while the insulation type determines its resistance to heat and moisture. It's important to choose a wire that is rated for the voltage and current of the lighting system. It's also important to choose a wire that is suitable for the environment in which it will be installed. For example, if the wiring will be exposed to moisture, it's important to choose a wire with moisture-resistant insulation. Secondly, it's important to properly terminate the wire connections. Wire connections should be made using appropriate connectors or terminals. The connectors or terminals should be properly sized for the wire and should be securely fastened. It's also important to ensure that the connections are properly insulated to prevent electrical shock. Thirdly, it's important to follow all applicable codes and regulations. The electrical codes and regulations are designed to ensure the safety of electrical installations. It's important to be familiar with the codes and regulations that apply to your area and to follow them carefully. As stated earlier, it's always a good idea to consult with a licensed electrician before performing any electrical work. A licensed electrician can help you choose the right materials and install them safely and correctly. They can also ensure that your installation complies with all applicable codes and regulations. In addition to the NEC, there may be other local codes and regulations that apply to electrical installations in Massachusetts. It's important to check with your local building department to determine what codes and regulations are in effect. Finally, let's reiterate the importance of electrical safety. Electrical work can be dangerous if it's not done properly. It's important to take all necessary precautions to protect yourself from electrical shock. This includes turning off the power to the circuit before working on it, wearing appropriate safety gear, and using insulated tools. If you're not comfortable working with electricity, it's best to leave the job to a licensed electrician. Remember that electricity can be deadly if it's not treated with respect. Always take the time to educate yourself about electrical safety and to follow all safety precautions. By following these guidelines, you can ensure that your under cabinet lighting installation is safe, code compliant, and reliable.